Hello, friends and family and distant acquaintances and strangers. As of today, I am the Poet Pacer. Some of you who are connected to me through Facebook personally might have noticed that I have posted a little bit of a teaser that changes are afoot in my life. And I'm here now to share with you what those changes are. So I have created a website, and I have committed myself to memorizing a poem a day for one solid year. And not only memorizing those poems, but recording them spoken by memory at the end of each day and sharing them with you via the website. This is something I'm fairly terrified of doing, and we'll explain a little bit later more detail about that. But it is something I'm committed to doing, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the process and why I'm doing it. So I'm fascinated by the human voice and by words in general. I always have been. And my intention is to study the human voice in more detail at some point in my life, but I'm unsure of how to do that at this point. So in an effort to kind of start that study on my own and to involve more words and more beauty in my personal life, I have already been memorizing poetry. Almost a poem a day for a little while now, as I go about my day. And I found a lot of joy in that. And I speak these poems aloud as I go about my day, and I speak them a lot. I say them probably an hour or two, or maybe more if the poem is longer. And I found that has an effect on how I treat each day and how I treat the people in my day. So the idea of doing more of that is pleasing to me. The idea of sharing it is very difficult. So that's a slightly different question. Why am I committed to sharing this with you all? And that has a somewhat complicated answer that I would like to tell you, would like to share with you. So from a very young age, I was clearly given talent in the arts. In music specifically. I don't know how much of it was just there. I don't know how much of it I worked to get, but it was very, very clear that I had it. And I spent a lot of time, I have spent a lot of time in my life at the piano. And that has had certain effects on who I am. Good, and I'm not going to say bad, but just very interesting to realize that so much time at one thing has shaped me as a human being. And some of the things that I'm realizing as an adult is that I have viewed and I have created this idea of music and art in the context of two really interesting words, in the context of secrecy and scarcity. I'm not sure why exactly this is, but I do know that from a young age I started to view my music at the piano as something that if I gave it away I would have less of. So I started to view art and music as something that was scarce and something that if you gave it away, if you shared it, you would have less of it, which is not how I view things today, but which is deeply ingrained in me. So I grew up having this amazing talent at the piano, But all and sharing it, of course. I gave recitals. I did my due diligence. I played for anybody whenever they asked me to. But it was never out of a true desire just to share what I had. It was more out of a competitive spirit. This is what I can do. Don't you want to see? And that has not been the healthiest impulse for me, I realize now. The secrecy is the other interesting word in there. Music has been for me maybe even the main way of communication, the main source of communication in my life. I could say anything through the piano. I could tell anyone my deepest secrets, my deepest feelings, and always be protected that they wouldn't really know what I was saying. They wouldn't really know how much of it was me and how much of it was the composer. They probably would feel something, but in the end, I could have my secret. I could communicate and not communicate at the same time. That has led to really interesting difficulties when I'm trying to communicate with words, I found out, because words almost feel like a second language to me, although I love them so dearly. Its communication has been one of the biggest, probably is the biggest challenge in my life. I think it's fascinating what words can do. I think it's fascinating what words can't do, and I think it's fascinating how we use them. So I am almost interested in using poetry as a learning device for myself as well. How did this poet decide to express his or her feeling, idea, pain, joy? How did they choose to do it? Let me spend some time on that and study that, and maybe those effects will sink into me and help me with my own communication. So that's a little summary of what I'm choosing to do. And I guess I haven't said it really explicitly, but I want to share it to you because I believe that we can create more good together than we can alone. So I'm doing a lot of this, as you can see, for self-healing reasons, but the sharing, although it has self-healing properties as well, I want to also create a space that you and I come together and we hold something beautiful together. Maybe it's beautiful because it's joyful, maybe it's beautiful because it's painful and ugly, maybe it's beautiful because it's filled with longing. Whatever the poem is that day, I want to give it out into the world, and share it with you, and also give it out into the world because what I do is I walk every day. I walk up to 12 miles on the streets of LA as part of my work, and that gives me ample time to speak to myself and to speak these poems out into the world. So I'm literally pacing as I say these words and putting them all over this crowded city that I live in, that is filled with so many different emotions and so many different things. I actively want to be putting some good and beauty into that as well. So I hope that you join with me. I have my website, which is, I will share now, pacingwithpoets.com. I have a Facebook page at Poet Pacer, a Twitter account at Poet Pacer, and an Instagram at Poet Pacer, whichever one of those, however many you want or choose to leave to the side is perfectly fine, but I welcome you to share this journey with me.